Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Andrew?
Good. You know what I need to do is put in my earbuds.
Okay, perfect. So why don't you do that real quick and I'll just do a quick introduction of myself.
Great.
Then I'll let you introduce yourself as well. So welcome everyone. Today we are doing our third walking/biking tour session. My name is Fung and I'm the Community Connector Coordinator for Southwest Denver. And I work for the Community Active Living Coalition. It is a program under the Denver Department of Transportation Infrastructure. So today we have Andrew with us with the Downtown Denver Partnership, and I will let him introduce himself. So,
Great. Thanks, Fung. Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew Iltis. I'm the Senior Manager of Mobility at the Downtown Denver Partnership. If you don't know, the Downtown Denver Partnership is primarily a member-based organization really focused on place-based economic development. And what I mean by that is traditional economic development organizations might be really interested in, bringing in that next big company, really helping employees with retention, that kind of thing. What we're really focused on first is making the place really special, and then we feel like the economic vitality will sort of follow if we can make the place really special for everybody. So that's a big priority of our organization. And my job in mobility, I'm also the director of the Downtown Denver TMA, so the Transportation Management Agency or organization. And so I work with a lot of businesses on helping their commuters, their company, figure out how to create new mobility solutions for their employees, helping them hopefully walk, bike, use transit more often, and drive less. So yeah, super excited to be a part of this summit. We truly believe that streets are for people, and we try to live that every single day. So yeah, thanks for having me.
perfect. Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for for coming on, and we're excited for you to show us your route that you're going to be taking today.
yeah,
It's the 5280 trail. So yeah, so before you get on, hop on your bike and take us along, we do have a couple questions that
great.
you can answer throughout your ride. And for everyone that's joining us, please feel free to write your questions, or if you have any questions, just put in that chat box and I can filter that and ask Andrew as he is writing along. And Andrew, for your safety, please answer these questions when it is convenient for you or when you are at a safe spot. So
Yeah,
we do want you to feel safe, and whenever you're ready, you can answer these questions.
great.
And then throughout this ride, we are going to take after 30 minutes, we are going to take a very quick minute or 30 seconds break. And then we'll jump right back on. So those of you who are joined right now, in 30 minutes, we will take a quick break and then we'll hop back on so you can join us on this live again after.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah. And the great thing is this route is already without much infrastructure. This route is already fairly comfortable. So this is a great place to have a conversation like this. So
Great.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we, are you ready to hop on your bike, or you
I
want me to
am.
ask you the first question? So
Sure. Let's go ahead and get started while I roll over to the kind of the first stop.
perfect. Okay, so the first question is, where are we on the planning process?
Yes. So the 5280 trail really started in the planning conversation a long time ago, and probably the plan that speaks to it most directly is the outdoor downtown plan, and that plan actually calls for an outdoor recreation loop around the center city, around downtown. And I think that really instigated kind of I'll call it the more contemporary planning process that we're in right now. But that said, this project, this vision is really built on many plans, and I'll kind of mention them as we go through. that, you know, are have been instigated by the neighborhoods or by the city or by various organizations. So it really is sort of a culmination of plans in the city that in our center city that have really kind of talked about the 5280 or maybe concepts for the 5280 directly.
Very
So
nice.
I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna stop right here, and if you don't mind, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about this place, and then maybe we can go to a next question after, and I can roll on to the next spot. Does that sound okay?
Yes, that is perfect.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So if you didn't know, I am on Auraria campus. So this is sort of the main campus complex that ties into Lawrence if you're coming from the downtown grid. If I swing around here, this is 11th, and you can see the library here is to my right. So that's the main library that serves campus. And this particular street through campus isn't yet designated as a bike corridor, but if you know campus any at all, you know that there aren't many places to bike through campus, and they've done that on purpose. They really want Auraria campus to be a pedestrian environment. And to minimize conflicts, they've designated just a couple routes through campus. So as part of the master planning vision for Auraria campus, 11th has been sort of that designated route. And so, you know, as I'm standing here kind of in this big commons area, the vision for 5280 is really around places and links. And this particular spot is one of those places. And so the idea for this spot is to really bring the students into the conversation, to allow the, you know, the creativity of artists in the student body or urban designers or architects to really be able to help start to influence that conversation. So the vision here shows, you know, perhaps a living wall on the recreational building there, or maybe even along this brick wall that you see here. There's even been talks about, you know, maybe reducing some of the parking that they have here, you know, maybe still allowing the accessible parking, but there's a lot of loading that also occurs here, maybe sort of minimizing some of that and bringing a formal trail through here. And this section, as you can see right here, that's sort of pedestrian only, this is really a great opportunity for the city to, or for the trail to really start to maybe even pilot some of the first steps of 5280. Even this in this little 100-foot section, there's some big opportunities to be able to kind of just re-envision just this stretch. And so I would call this one of the early opportunities of the 5280 trail. So with that, I'm going to move on. If you've noticed, I'm on a bike that doesn't look like a normal bike. I've got a couple of little girls that love to bike, but they don't go very far, very fast, and I like to go fast. So I throw them in the box bike, and we come downtown and have a good afternoon. And I drop them off at school now with the bus. Bus is not running. But anyway, yeah. So I'm cruising now on 11th, northwest-ish. And you can see that along the trail, there's a lot of development happening from the various institutions that are here, including MSU and University of Colorado. So one of the cool things that's happening right here is that the university is bringing in the first on-campus housing units. And so this will be a huge part of the success, I think, of the trail, is having a ton of people just right here being able to experience it, being able to use it every day as a mobility option or a recreational option. That'll be a really fun thing that happens early on in the process. So I'll just kind of show you what that looks like.
Yeah, so Andrew, since you're on the trail right now, we have a question.
Yeah. And
the question from someone is the trail marked?
The trail is not yet marked, and we're in a phase right now, we're calling it the trailblazing phase, where we're talking very seriously about what a low-cost wayfinding project might look like. And it might even go beyond just wayfinding to where we install some sort of artistic elements or maybe even some light programming around the trail. And so we think that, really marking the trail is probably one of the very first steps that's really important to get the community to understand what the extent of the vision is for the trail. Because right now it really is sort of, you can follow one of the maps that we have available online, or you can follow one of these tours if you can. But really there's nothing else necessarily to indicate that the trail is here. So right now I'm at Auraria Parkway, if you didn't recognize that, with the Pepsi Center just ahead of me.
It's a nice day to be riding.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Yeah, a little smoky, but can't complain otherwise.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to our next question, and the next question would be, what are the assumptions about impacts on the neighborhood, and are there concerns for displacement? Because with planning a loop like this, like how is it impacting the neighborhood, and have you heard any concerns from the neighborhood in this area?
Yeah, and obviously certain segments of the trail that's more of a conversation than in other parts. For example, Lommeling Park, when we get back to that'll kind of be the last place we get when we get around the trail here. That's certainly a concern. And, some of the conversation is at what stage of transition is that neighborhood already? Are the homeowners there, looking forward to redevelopment? And those conversations are happening, and we want to make sure that while we're doing this, everyone's involved, and that we go as fast or slow as the community is ready to go on this type of project. But in the meantime, we want to offer as many opportunities for people to engage with the idea of having a recreational trail in the doorstep as possible. And so, yeah, I think it's a huge concern, and we're talking about it every single day, talking about it with the city, talking about it with the neighbors, and I think just being intentional about making sure that's part of the conversation is how we'll hopefully be able to find some compromise there. But it is a really hard topic to talk about, for sure. The other thing that's difficult is, when you come across a street like Spear, where you have a lot of vehicular traffic, what does a multimodal trail really look like when you expect something, that children could be able to traverse around? There's got to be some conversation about how to make an intersection like this safe and convenient enough that even small kids can navigate, or people with any sort of mobility, disadvantages. Just wait for the signal to change. This is one of the longest signal cycles on the trail that we have to contend with.
Yes, and I think once the trail's being marked, I think that would be very helpful for people to kind of just see the trail live, and so they could also experience that without feeling like they're going out of the trail, so they could just kind of stay in the trail and stay in that one route instead of feeling like they are going outside of it.
Yep. Yeah, as through the planning process, that's actually been a really important topic. And I think, you think about what a trail is like when you're going through the mountains, and sometimes you experience a little bit of uncertainty, and that gives you a little bit of that sense of adventure. And how do you bring that then to an urban trail? And up here is actually a good example of where we talked about that. Am I not going to get the signal here? This is a perfect case example of why we need to do a little bit of extra help for the trail.
Yes.
stand here until it goes green. You know, right up here by the children's playground, just across the street, there's a couple options. The trail can go around the children's playground in a couple different ways, and that might be one of those moments where we let people explore a little bit and maybe make a mistake, you know, where they realize, oh, if I go this other way, it's a little bit better, or I have a different view, or and that's sort of that. You know, we really want this to reflect that mountain type of a trail where you have a little bit of adventure as part of your experience.
That is a very long light.
It is a long light, and I think because I probably didn't hit the ped button at the right time, the bag button, I am having to wait an extra cycle, which is great. But that's okay.
Everyone that just came on here live with us, please feel free to write down any questions that you may want Andrew to answer, and I can read them to Andrew. So yeah, feel free to use the comment box below if you have any questions or anything that you need to be Andrew to clarify, then you can use that.
Okay, here we go. All right, in addition to this being kind of a fun opportunity for exploration, this is also one of my favorite ways. If you haven't ever come into town this way, this is a really fun experience from Pepsi Center in through this this train trestle, this old train trestle.
Yeah, Andrew, we were talking about the long signal. We have someone saying maybe potential improvement is an automatic bike/peg signal.
Sorry. Yeah, and that's, you know, I think we try to have those conversations a lot. You come downtown and you don't have to hit head buttons, and you know, why not, especially on some of these crossings where you know you have a lot of pedestrian traffic, why not do some sort of automatic pedestrian signal? Sorry, I'm gonna run that one. Okay, now we're on Wine Coop. That's the Alliance Center. Those of you who've been engaged with Denver Streets Partnership and maybe even Walk Denver know the Alliance Center well. We used to gather there quite often. And we'll probably go back there again soon when we're able to. Okay, now we're on Wine Coop. So Denver Union Station, which I was just down here last night, and this is such a vibrant place in our city, and I think a really cool opportunity. I'm just going to roll through it slowly here and just kind of give you the view. You know, Wine Coop, in a lot of conversations, is really has already started to be more about people than about cars. And even though the design wouldn't tell you that such yet, but you know, as we're starting to see, especially in our response to COVID, these businesses are starting to take more space. And look at how cool this space is across from this amazing plaza. And I think that's really a testament to, you know, the ability of this place to attract people, to become, you know, more pedestrian centric, to become more human centric. And the 5280, because of that potential, doesn't need to do a whole lot through this corridor. We've talked about, you know, when the 5280 or when Wine Coop is sort of re-envisioned, maybe the trail comes through, but it's a very light touch. You know, there would be light wayfinding, maybe just an essence of a trail kind of meandering through, but the place is really what's going to stand out in through Wine Coop Plaza.
Well, I love that outdoor space that are starting to do down there. That looks amazing.
So now I'm kind of at Wynkoop and 19th. So in the kind of the final vision for the trail continues on through the West Lot development here, which is the Rockies development, and another opportunity. So you can see this building's actually all glazed in. Looks like they're coming along. The idea is, and I'll show you when we get around the corner, that there's another opportunity here to be able to explore a little bit. The actual alignment for the 5280 will go all the way to the wall at 20th, not crossing 20th, and then head up 20th. But you'll see the Rockies did a really cool thing with this project, created a slice that goes right through diagonally, where they'll have kind of this open plaza, and they'll be able to maybe project ball games in there, have a place for outdoor seating. And so this will be one of those moments on the 5280 where you might pull off, or you might cruise through slowly. Here, I'll pull up here and you can take a look. Sorry, just gonna put the parking brake on. I'm gonna step out and show you. So you can see this building has this slice right through there. That'll be a really cool spot along the trail to let people, experience that. Can you imagine when a ball game is happening there? What a great time, what a great place in our city to just pull over off the trail, have a moment, and then continue on.
Okay, Andrew, we're coming up with 30 minutes, but we have a question in the comment box that maybe we can answer this before we take a really quick break. And I know we have some more people joining us. So
Great.
The question is, what is the purpose of the trail? So for those who just joined us, would you mind just talking a little bit more about that again?
Sure, yeah. So the vision for the 5280 is really more about creating those places with links between. And so when I say creating those places, I mean pulling out some of the distinct characteristics of the neighborhoods that the trail is going through and connecting to, and putting those characteristics into the street architecture. So in the right of way, creating more room for people to bike, creating more room for people to walk. If you've experienced places like Indianapolis Cultural Trail, Atlanta Beltway, maybe even Chicago 606, or the big one, New York High Line, they're happening, and maybe they aren't all the best reflection of the community character that are around them, but some do a pretty good job. And I think what we're really hoping to do is to create that linear park, that linear recreation facility that, gives the residents of that neighborhood not only an opportunity to have, a low-speed multimodal connection, but also just have a place to go and walk the dog, or a better way to connect to, their local grocery store or local coffee shop. So I think the purpose of it is really around the placemaking first, and then the mobility aspect is really kind of second and ancillary, but still important. Okay, so we're on 21st now, and just let me know when we should flip over and take a little break.
Yeah, perfect. Is this a good time for you to stop for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna just take a very quick minute break, and then we're gonna come back. And for those who have joined us, feel free to join us back when we go live again. And it's just gonna take about 30 seconds to 60 seconds for us to get back. And hopefully you can join us in the last half of this 5280 trail.
Great. We'll see you on the flip side.
Yep. Yay, we are back.
Hey, all right.
Okay, maybe we can wait for a little bit so people can slowly join us again.
Yep. I'm gonna pull up here out of traffic.
Thank you everyone for joining us again. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comment box below, and Andrew will be more than happy to answer any questions or clarify anything that you may have.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and get started again. My name is Andrew Iltis, Manager of Mobility at the Downtown Denver Partnership. So I'm standing on what will be 5280 Trail and on 21st Street in between Larimer and Lawrence. And if you all remember, several years back, the city and the Downtown Denver Partnership actually tested some of the 5280 designs right here in this spot. And so we were able to close down the block between Larimer and Lawrence to cars and open it up to people and test out some of the programming, some of the designs that we think might be possible on a street like 21st. 21st was identified in the Northeast Area Neighborhood Plan as a special street, and you know it's you can see why. You know, it has this really great view of Coors Field. It is a two-way street, which is, you know, kind of an oddity downtown, a rarity, I guess, and a great place to be. And as you can see, even the development that's starting to respond here is really more residential in nature. A shared street could really fit nicely into this neighborhood, providing that linear park, that recreational facility that we so desperately need. 21st Street is actually really cool because the city has this year kicked off a design for the street, and they are really moving towards some of the concepts that are in some of our 5280 plans and design guidelines, and working towards a 30% design by the end of 2021. And we might even see some of the demonstration of those efforts next summer, as soon as next summer. So that's pretty exciting. 21st Street could very well be the first segment to really get built, the first place to be established on the route.
So we have someone in the comment that said, great job. And then someone else said, I lived here for 1 year and wish I could visit this place again. And please, yes, when you do visit, you can check out this 5280 trail and go on it yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So I just was trying to show you there, new bike shop just opened up. Stopped in there. Those guys are great. If you're looking for a fun mechanic downtown, drop your bike off before you go into work, if you're going into the office at all. They're super helpful, and they have a kind of a fun selection of refurbished bikes.
Very nice.
So this little bit here, I'll even stop here and show you. This is probably the most infrastructure that we have established along the route. So you can see that when they designed this, they really closed 21st off to Broadway reduced some of the mess in the intersection here and created really a multimodal space. And the other cool thing they're doing in this spot in particular is they're testing out different urban drainage and urban landscaping forms. So you can see they're looking at native grasses, they're looking at trees, how well they can establish those things, what kind of gutter system they need to have to keep the trees healthy, what kind of retention system they need to have for the stormwater runoff. So kind of a neat spot along the trail, just because this is kind of like already happening along the route. And then this crossing is stellar with its bike signal and automatic, a pedestrian cycle that's on recall. Amazing, unlike our spear crossing way back when. And we'll move across here.
Someone asked, will 21st be free of cars?
In the concepts that have been established so far, it's more of a shared street. I think I've seen concepts that show maybe even a separated path, but likely with the space constraints, just the width of right-of-way, likely will mean that it's a shared street, which, if you think now about streets like 16th and 11th and Bayard, where they've installed those, temporary recreational streets. You can see that they can work. If we can reduce vehicle speeds down enough through design, you can actually have a space that's shared between cyclists, pedestrians, joggers, dog walkers, and cars. It can function well if it's designed right.
Yes.
So now we're crossing Welton, like light rail lines. And we are moving out to Benedict Fountain Park. I'm gonna put the bike on turbo.
Okay, Andrew, our last question is how much will it cost and how will we pay for it?
Yeah, that's the $140 million question. No, I think what we look to when we try to answer those questions, right? We don't know for sure. I mentioned 21st Street project. That's a city-funded project. Obviously, right now, more capital improvement projects coming from the city budget are probably very unlikely in the near term. And so, what we are looking at is, the projects like Indianapolis Cultural Trail, they really were a combination of a couple different funding streams. So those include, potentially a federal stimulus or a big, infrastructure bill coming through. It could be, like we saw in the after the recession, it could be a philanthropic gesture. Maybe one of our city philanthropic partners would decide that this is something they'd like to invest in. And we don't think that it'll be one part of that. I think having the city commit to a project like 21st Street helps us show that that it is a real thing, that the city is interested in moving forward. And that actually then helps developers, private investors, realize the potential, and we might even see segments of it built through private development. Like if you think about DUS, Denver Union Station, a lot of that was built with private investment dollars, and it really just took the plans and the momentum from the city to say, hey, look, this is the place we want to design and create, and the developers saw that they could benefit from that, and then they invested in the public interest. So we might see a model like that on certain segments as well. So now we're on Sherman Street. Sherman, again, another two-way street, was identified through the Capital Complex Master Plan. So a plan that really kind of oversees the entire Civic Center area, the Capitol building, really state designated plan or a state-owned plan. Recognize that Sherman has some unique qualities. It has, lots of beautiful trees. It has this connection between state facilities, and a lot of people use it. A lot of our legislators use it. A lot of people that have any business at the Capitol. So it has this sort of pedestrian nature already, or pedestrian function, and 5280 can definitely help accentuate that function. Plus, just the views of the Capitol. Its position 25 feet above the rest of the downtown Denver grid, in terms of topography is pretty amazing. So you get, typically you get nice big mountain views there. Sunset looks okay. And city building behind. So here we are at Colfax.
Andrew, do you have a favorite part along the trail that you like?
Yes. We aren't there yet.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, here we go. And here we are at the Capitol. The cool thing about this spot, and especially with the 5280 name, is that this is where we're actually 5,280 feet above sea level. So we actually get our mile high moment right here with the little brass emblem there on the stairs, and great view of Civic Center Park. Kind of a fun moment along the 5280 trail. And right now, it's all closed to parking. And, before COVID, this was all parked up with cars. And, in conversations with state architects, it sounds like there's some momentum to keep it this way without parked cars there, which is great. That would be a really nice thing to have stay as an outcome of this crisis.
Okay, Andrew, we have a question from one of our participants.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, do you have plans for how to make crossing Colfax more bike/ped friendly for 5280 trail users?
Yeah, that's a great question. Both 14th and Colfax have a ton of vehicular traffic, and with 14th being one way, those cars are going pretty fast. No specific designs have been created yet for those crossings. But, I think especially if we can have a conversation about not having parking on the Capitol, that little Capitol roundabout, maybe then we can actually create some traffic calming at those intersections, reduce some of those crossing distances and better visibility for people on the street. And one thing is, with Colfax, hopefully someday we also see really rapid transit on that corridor as well. So we'll have to balance some of that with the signal timing and, making sure that crossing is still safe for people as they interact with buses. But it's certainly possible. And I think either way, the trail will benefit from having the bus, and the bus will benefit from having the trail. So I think there's definitely intention to work that out. Okay, here we go. So again, we're still on Sherman at about 13th, and at 12th, we're going to take a right.
So it seems like we have some people around the world watching us live and joining us.
Welcome to Denver.
Yeah, and then we have some people who live here for a year or who have visited, and they said that they miss and love Denver so much. So welcome to our 5280 Trail tour. So if you're ever back in Denver, please go under this trail.
Yeah, that's awesome. Welcome to those. Oh, fantastic. Dubai.
Yes.
Very cool.
Someone would say that they're from London right now, so they're in London. So that's awesome.
So this is the State History Museum. And we are about to cross Broadway. Broadway someday is also envisioned to be a really strong multimodal corridor. It already has a lot of the components. It has a dedicated bus lane, and then south of here a little bit is a two-way protected bike lane that is planned to be extended all the way through to downtown. So that'll be a great connection as well. Okay, so you asked about my favorite spot, and I think this is it right here. So as you kind of move around the trail through upper downtown and through the Capitol and Broadway especially, you know, a lot of vehicular traffic. And the second you drop onto Acoma here from 12th, all of a sudden you have a full canopy over the top. The road is very low traffic volume, and you just have a moment to breathe. And I think it's, you know, maybe it's not so much about just this place, but it's also about the juxtaposition between kind of that high traffic area and this kind of moment along the trail that's special. Acoma, you know, I'm not the only person who's seen how special Acoma is in the Golden area. Golden Triangle neighborhood plan. They've identified Acoma as a festival street. So, and really even thought through, you know, what it would be like to close Acoma to cars, completely string lights across, have maybe even artistic performances on the street, really allow the street to kind of reflect the creativity of the district that's around it with the museums and the great neighborhood that is Golden Triangle. So you take Acoma to 9th. I'm going to take a quick right on 9th here. And then one block to Bannock. I don't know if I'm going to make that light. So here we are again back at Spear. So if you know anything about Spear Boulevard, it was really envisioned through the City Beautiful movement. So a lot of cities across the country really embrace this idea of bringing pastoral aesthetics, Arcadian classic architecture to parks and buildings. So if you're downtown Denver, you see Civic Center Park. That's another City Beautiful movement piece. Cheeseman Park is another one of those moments. So Mayor Spear really saw Spear Boulevard as one of those linear connections. And, you know, if you look at old pictures of Spear Boulevard, it's tree-lined streets. It was really meant to be that parkway, that grand parkway. And I think, you know, of course, with 4 lanes of traffic, you sort of lose the beauty of it all. But I think the cool thing is there's a really great connection, and I'll show you when we get across it here what that looks like. So if you're unfamiliar with Denver, this is a great connection, a regional trail that runs along the Cherry Creek and follows Spear for a majority of it, especially through the center city. And so having 5280 cross that, you know, being able to link to that really gives that another really great recreational connection for people, or even multimodal connection. So now we're in Sunken Gardens Park. Sunken Gardens Park is actually just kicking off a master planning process, and 5280 will definitely be a piece of that conversation. This was, you know, a large, actually there was a reflection pond here in front of the high school for some time, and then that was taken out, and now it's just a really nice park that's, you know, has a little bit of elevation change from the street, and so it stays a little bit quieter, and some really fun views of downtown that you don't get if you've never been here before. This is also one of those really cool moments to kind of look up through Golden Triangle, look up through upper downtown, and kind of look across the sky rises there.
Hey, Andrew, we have another question. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but are the museum interested in using the street for outdoor art exhibits during COVID, like art?
You know, we have talked with some of the museums about that, and I think particularly, I totally should have stopped there. That was my bad. I think that, you know, we're in this weird time where you can either react really fast and make a play and just go on what you know about public health at the moment, or you can be cautious. And I think we've probably sort of stayed on the cautious side, for better or worse. And so we haven't seen a whole lot of art installations in the street, although I will say right now, if you're in Denver, you got to get up to Rhino and see Crush Walls. You know, it's something they do every year, but it's a fantastic moment. And, you know, especially right now, it's a really fun time to kind of be out there on the street and see what they've done there. This is one of those spots too. I mean, speaking of art, we're in Santa Fe Art District. And so the thought was 5280 would go, you know, up Santa Fe, but really looking at the right of way, the cross section on Santa Fe, and I'll show you when we get a little bit closer to it. It's pretty tight, and you know, on First Fridays when that street is jamming with people visiting the art galleries, there really isn't space for, you know, that bike connection to work well, or, you know, people to be kind of moving through. And so the thought was, why not bring the trail up this alley just off of Santa Fe, and maybe even the businesses in the backside. I mean, there's great art back here, murals, but, you know, maybe the businesses would even come out the backside and start to respond to the trail in the alley. And of course, you know, these conversations are being had with the district, and there's definitely interest in that. And I mean, you can even see like this neighborhood is already fairly vibrant, even on a night like tonight. There's still fun stuff happening down here. So this is Santa Fe. So yeah, you can see it's fairly narrow cross section. Look at even beyond up to that truck, you know, you have 4 feet to the parking lane. Even if you take the parking lane and convert that, there still isn't a ton of room to have, you know, the kind of multimodal facility that we're seeing for 5280. So probably having that extra space will be needed. So now we're entering, or I guess we've already been in Lima, and now we're heading into Lincoln Park. So Lima, Lincoln Park is one of our most well-established neighborhoods on the 5280 trail, and this is one of those places where the risk of displacement is, the conversation is really strong, and we're continuing to talk about that with the residents, the community, about, you know, what they would like this trail to do for them. And, you know, recognizing that this neighborhood has been sort of overlooked in terms of infrastructure investments for some time. And so, you know, how do you balance adding a really high quality recreational facility with that, you know, neighborhood stability? And I think it's a really important conversation for us to have. And we're, you know, starting with the community first before we go to design or move beyond, you know, move beyond that conversation. 10th Street that we're on right now is a really strong connection for the neighborhood to mass transit. So as you can see, maybe you can see it just off in the distance there is the 10th and Osage station. And so the neighborhood really sees this as a really great way for them to be able to connect to the, mass transit, which can get them downtown in just a couple minutes. And 5280 will be able to provide another option for people that's fairly affordable and healthy if they aren't choosing that mass transit. So now we're on Mariposa, and this is Lincoln Park, great park in the neighborhood. And 5280 at this point, the concept is really to run the trail along adjacent to the park, maybe shift some of the travel lanes. There's enough right of way here where you could probably even maintain the parking for the neighborhood, but be able to fit in that multimodal trail on the side and allow some protection between those people on the trail and people in the street. Another cool thing about Lincoln Park is just above the buildings over there is a really beautiful mountain view. So we've even talked about, potentially helping people, maybe, creating an opportunity, maybe even get up high and see the mountain views, allow that extra viewplane. Okay, we are crossing now 13th. And 13th just got a brand new protected bike lane down here, which is awesome. That was a bond project that the voters approved, gosh, in 2018, I think. And so they just got that installed, and it helps create a couplet with 14th, which also has a protected facility. So the network is starting to come together in this neighborhood, which is really great to see. Sorry, maybe you didn't hear that. How are we doing on time?
We are using 30 minutes, but we're good. And Andrew, okay. I'm gonna post in the comment box the website if people are interested in the bike tours.
Yeah. So we are right now starting on the 24th and going through October 30th. We are offering tours of 5280. So if you want to drop that into the comment box, that link to Tour Denver. Right now we're kind of in the spirit of bike to wherever week, or bike to what was work day. We're offering people an opportunity to get out on bikes. Maybe it's with your corporate team, maybe it's with your family. We want to give people an opportunity to not only get out on bikes, experience 5280 trail, but maybe even learn how to navigate the city infrastructure because it's different. We have protected bike lanes and bike boxes and all sorts of infrastructure that doesn't show up even in the near-in suburbs. So yeah, we really want to hopefully get a lot of people out. We have a lot of people registered already for that program, and if you're interested to come out and get on a bike, come join us. We'll give you a great tour. So we're back on Auraria campus on the south end, so we're almost done. This street here, which I'm gonna show you, and then I'm gonna circle around and show you from another angle. This is 9th Street and, 9th Street through Auraria campus. And 9th is really special because they actually preserved the neighborhood, the houses from the neighborhood anyway, that were in this Auraria neighborhood before it was demolished to become more of an industrial area for the city. So if you didn't know, Auraria actually had a really well-established neighborhood here. In fact, there was a time there where it was competing with kind of central Denver, downtown, as the center of the city. and eventually, you know, downtown kind of flourished and became that center. But Auraria has some deep history in the city, and they were able to at least preserve the infrastructure here on 9th. You can see the houses, and you can even see the curb line that's still there from the original street. Kind of a fun view back into the past. So, as I said, we're back on campus now, and this is one of the main bike routes through campus again. And that pretty much brings us back to where we started. So with that, thanks everybody for riding along with us today. It was fun to ride one-handed for 5 miles.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew, for taking us along this 5280 trail and showing us all the, you know, great spots along this trail. We appreciate you taking the time going live with us and answering all the questions. And thank you to everyone who have joined us on this live as well. Someone just asked, how many miles is this loop? So
it's pretty darn close to 5.280 miles around the trail. Don't measure it, but it's pretty dang close. Don't hold us exactly to it. I saw John there too. Thanks, John. John, if you attended the Streets for People Summit last year, John was a panelist talking about 5280 Loop to that audience. So good to see him on as well.
Yes, so thank you so much to everyone, and especially Andrew for taking us along this route, and we appreciate you coming live with us today.
Sure thing, anytime.
Yeah. Okay, so hope everyone have a good night. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.